Okay. All right, cool. I think we're recording. This is Keith Haggerty, and this is Jamila. And I'll be taking the role of con for net neutrality, and Jamila will be taking the role of pro. And to begin with, my first issue in net neutrality is increasing government control often leads to diminished service. While Americans are just 4% of the world's population, we have 25% of the world's broadband investment, with the US investing more in broadband networks than any other country, more than 1 trillion since the mid 90s. With such a massive technological infrastructure, the debate on net neutrality becomes more of a question of what is the most fair and balanced solution between protecting the interests of the consumer without handcuffing the free market rights and business interests of the information service providers, or ISPs. Net neutrality activists believe the government, particularly the Federal Communication Commission, should enact measures regulating all ISPs and their control over the distribution of their broadband service. Proponents want the FCC to reclassify the internet as a Title II common carrier service that could be more easily regulated. However, reclassifying the internet and applying antiquated telephone era rules and blanket government oversight via the FCC would essentially choke off growth and investment. Jamila, it's now yours.
Okay. To start off, net neutrality is the idea that internet service providers or ISPs should treat all websites and services the same. And when we access the internet, we should be able to view all web pages equally, just as everyone else. In other words, I believe in free and open internet, and websites to be treated equally. Recently, FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler announced that all ISPs, to be charged for faster transmission of internet services such as Netflix. And those who are able to pay will get faster internet than the rest of us. I am for net neutrality. I believe that websites and services should be treated equally, and big companies should not want to treat them any differently and charge more depending on how much service we use. Net neutrality is important so that we can keep the internet open and prevent companies from discriminating against different kinds of websites and services. An open, free internet stimulates competition, helps prevent unfair pricing practices, promotes the spread of ideas, and protects freedom of speech. Should I continue?
Well, whatever you got.
In 2009, President Obama stated, I remain firmly committed to net neutrality so that we can keep the internet as it should be, open and free. And I believe that still. And I think that I consider the internet as a public highway and ISP as like a bus company, using that kind of metaphor. And therefore, ISPs cannot discriminate between customers using a public highway. It doesn't matter how little or a lot a passenger uses the bus system as long as they can ride the bus. And the ones I feel like are being affected more are startups, nonprofits, activists, and anyone else who cannot afford to pay these tolls. We're trying to avoid another unethical behavior such as Comcast in 2007, who interfered with customers using peer-to-peer filing sharing, or in 2012 when FCC sued Verizon for charging consumers for using their phone as a mobile hotspot. And to sum up my choice on net neutrality, Patrick Lee, the Senate Judiciary Committee chair, sums up Americans want an internet that is a platform for free expression and innovation, where the best ideas and services can reach consumers based on merit rather than based on a financial relationship with a broadband provider.
No. Well, you put my first argument to shame. That's because, well, to come back with other stuff too. Well, I would take the position of charging everyone the same price isn't fair, but is charging every user of internet service the same price a fair deal, or does it merely punish those who use it minimally while giving a free pass or supercharged discount, so to speak, for high-end users? Comcast Executive Vice President David Cohen sees usage-based internet service pricing becoming the norm in a few years. He says the days of all-you-can-eat, one-size-fits-all internet pricing is an endangered species. Of course, this is also a Comcast executive, so, take that for all it's worth. But according to Cohen, people who use the internet longer should pay more than people who don't use it nearly as much. Granted, as a Netflix watcher and HBO Go lover, the thought of having to pay more while immersed in a binge watching session of Game of Thrones or Orange is the New Black is a bit unsettling. However, much like electricity, which we all share from the same power supply, those who consume more have to pay more, while those who conserve their usage will pay less. And when it comes to bandwidth use, it doesn't seem all that different. To me, it seems to be not so much a question of will we as consumers have to pay more, but more the question of when and how. Most likely, increased fees will come from ISPs in the form of based or structured pay levels, much like when mobile phones with internet service first became popular. In the beginning, your monthly rate entitled you to unlimited data usage. However, as the number of users increased exponentially, so did the bandwidth traffic, leading to carriers having no choice but to institute a new price structure. If I were merely an average or minimal user of mobile data services, I'm sure I would be just as outraged at having to pay an exorbitant monthly data fee for my smartphone to compensate for those who are using their mobile internet service 24/7. Then again, even the lightest fee for mobile services is still pretty outrageous. And that is my one point on that. Do you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. Did you have more?
No, I went through all my points.
Oh, okay. Is it okay if I read one more just so I can get it out? Thank you very much, and bear with me here. Um, I also have a contention that it will restrict and limit competition. Monopolies tend to be frowned upon in America, except the board game, with our government going to great cost and pains to dismantle the giants, such as we routinely see when it comes to the titans of telecommunications and cable industries. However, there is one gigantic monopoly which affects us all and calls all the shots for everyone and everything in our nation, which is the United States government. And can we trust the government to take over all of internet service? I guess that's the main question. And according to Joshua Stymie in Forbes magazine, the inefficiency and history of our government's irresponsible spending habits make putting all our trust in the all-encompassing oversight a scary thought. As he says, and I quote, "We're talking about the same organization that spent an amount equal to Facebook's first 6 years of operating costs, and all we got is a healthcare website that doesn't work, the same organization that can't keep the country's bridges from falling down, and the same organization that spends 320 times what private industry spends to send a rocket into space." Where government deregulation occurs, we tend to see growth and innovation, such as with the telephone industry. But would we all be walking around with smartphones again with such relative ease, cost, and proliferation if telecommunication services were completely run by the government? My final words from Stymie were ones that stood out to me, where he focuses on the overall foundation of our democratic government, harking back to colonial times when the founding fathers were gathering in Philadelphia at Independence Hall, trying to figure out just what a free society actually would entail. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't intended as a government regulating as much as it could. As he says, and I quote again, the founders intentionally created a government that was slow, inefficient, and plagued by gridlock because they knew the greatest danger to individual freedom came from a government that could move quickly, too quickly for the people to react in time to protect themselves. Basically, if we want products or services in an efficient, timely, and cost-effective manner, we probably wouldn't want to rely on the government to provide it. That's it. That's and that was my final point.
Okay.
I think we did it.
I think they're good.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jamila. I'm just going to turn this off now.
Thank you.